Hey everybody, Miss Thompson here. We're talking about angles. So this was your homework for tonight. First, what we're going to do is take a look at this figure right here. And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. All right. So what we're given is a couple of angle measurements. This angle KWT is going to measure 90 degrees. This angle LWR measures 34 degrees. Okay, so let's start with what we already know. We know that the angle measure of a straight line is 180 degrees. If we already know that, and we know that this KWT is 90 degrees, what we can figure out is that the measure of this angle, number 2, and LWR is going to add up to 90 degrees. The reason why is because this one's going to be 90, and then this one's going to be 90, for a total of 180. So how can we figure out what the measure of angle 2 is? Well, the easiest thing to do is to add the measure of angle 2 plus 34, and that's going to equal 90 degrees.
Excuse the interruption. Culture Club is beginning now. Culture Club is beginning right now.
All right.
Thank you.
So the measure of angle 2, I'm just going to abbreviate here, plus 34 degrees is going to equal 90 degrees. So how do I figure out what the measure of angle 2 is? Well, what happens is the measure of angle 2, you add 34 degrees to that, you're going to get 90 degrees. So to figure out what this is by itself, you would take 34 degrees away. Remember, you got to take from both sides of the equal sign. We haven't done anything for this measure of angle 2 yet. And then 90 minus 34 is going to give us an angle measurement of 56 degrees. Okay. The reason I got that is because I can't take 4 away from 0, so I borrow for 1 from the tens column. That becomes an 80. 10 minus 4 is 6. 8 minus 3 is 5, so 56 degrees. All right, so let's go back to angle number 1. Remember that we learned about vertical angles. Vertical angles, remember, are the angles that are directly opposite from each other. So angle number 1 is directly opposite from this angle LWR over here. So we know, without even doing any math or arithmetic, that we know that the measure of angle number 1 is going to be 34 degrees. Okay, now we can check ourselves because we know that angle 1 and angle 2 are going to add up to 90 degrees. So if we add angle 1, which is 56 degrees, plus 34 degrees, sure enough, we're going to get 90 degrees. All right, so now we're in the measure of angle 3. Well, look, angle number 2 is directly opposite. It's a vertical angle with the measure of angle 2. So we know, without even figuring, that the measure of angle 3, because these are directly opposite, these are vertical angles, that the measure of angle 3 is 56 degrees. And we didn't have to do anything with that. All right, so now the measure of VWR, okay, the measure of angle VWR. This middle letter is going to be our vertex, or vertices, where these two lines, where these two rays meet. So how do we figure out what I'm going to make this a little darker, VWR is? Well, look, this is a right angle. And the reason why I know that is because it's right across, it is vertical from KWT. So this one's 90, which means this one's also going to be 90. But now I got this pesky number 3 in here, which I already know is 56. So what I could do is figure out that the flat line right here is 180 degrees, and the measure of angle 1 is 34 degrees. So what I could do is I could take 180, which is the measure of a flat line, and then take away the 90, and then take away what I already know, which is 34, take away 34, okay? And then what I would get is 146 at the end. But if I wanted to do it a little bit easier, what I could do is say these two angles are vertical, so I know that the measure of W is 90 degrees, plus the measure of angle 3, which I already know is 56 degrees. Either way, when I add them up, 0 plus 6 is 6, 9 plus 5 is 14, is going to be 146 degrees. So the measure of VWR is 146 degrees. Okay. All right, number 5. So we're looking at finding x. The measure, we have to find x, what x is, the measure of angle A, B, D, and the measure of angle D, B, C. So what do we already know? This little box right here at the bottom of our angle is going to tell us that these two angles together make 90 degrees. So how can I figure out what these two, both of these, when you add them up, they're going to be 90 degrees. So it would make sense that 3x minus 14, that's the measure of angle A, B, D, right? Plus the measure of angle the measure of angle D, B, C, which is 2x plus 9, and that's going to equal 90 degrees. Okay, so from there, what I can do is combine some terms and then figure out what x is right here. So I'm going to remove the parentheses because they're not really necessary for us right now. I was just trying to group them so you would see the angles. All right, so first thing we do is combine like terms. So is there anything on this side of the equal sign that I can put together? Well, sure. There are 3 x's here and 2 x's here for a total of 5 x's, right? Then we've got a negative 14 here and a positive 9. So when I combine negative 14 and I add 9 to it, that's going to give me a negative 5. And then I didn't do anything with my 90 degrees yet, so I didn't bring that on down. So now it's just a straight two-step equation. We've got to get x by itself. That's our goal. Right now, x is being diminished by 5. So we got to add 5 on this side and add 5 on this side. We're just solving for x. I didn't do anything with the 5x yet, so I pulled that down. Negative 5 plus 5 is going to give me 0, which I don't have to write, equals, and then 90 plus 5 is 95. So then, x is being multiplied by 5, so the opposite is divide. I divide both sides by 5, and x is going to give me 19. Now, I'm not done yet because I need to figure out what x is. But remember, I'm also being asked what the measure of angle ABD is. ABD. This is the measure of ABD. So what I've got to do is I take my value that I got for x, and I just substitute it back in. And then over here, I'm going to substitute this back in. All right, order of operations tells me to multiply first. So I'll do this one first here. 3 times 19, 3 times 20 is going to be 60. And so I take 3 away from that, it's going to be 57 minus 14. That's going to give you 43 degrees. 43 degrees, okay? And then 2 times 19, well, 2 times 20 is 40, but that's going to be 2 away, so it's going to be 38. Plus 9 is going to be 47. Okay. And I can check my answers because remember that this measure, this angle, plus this angle is going to give me 90 degrees. So if I add 43 plus 47, that should give me 90. Yep, it sure does. Let's double check. 43 plus 47. 3 plus 7 is 10. Pull down 0. Carry 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. Plus 4 is 9. So that's 90 degrees. So x is going to be 19. The measure of angle ABD is 43 degrees. And the measure of angle DBC is 47 degrees. All right, moving on. Here's our next figure. Find x, the measure of angle MNQ, and the measure of MNR. We're going to do the exact same thing. The difference is, however, that we're not adding these two angles. Notice that this angle and that angle are directly across from each other. Those are vertical angles. So that means that this angle is the same as this angle. The degrees are going to be the same. So in order to write our equation, these two angles we're saying are equal. 4x plus 7. Those two angles are equal. So, can I combine anything over here? Remember, you can combine things on the same side of the equal sign. Nope, that's an X and that's a number. Can't combine those two. How about these? Nope, this is an X and that's a number. Can't combine those two either. All right, so what should I do? Let's see. Let's get rid of the numbers first. What I think I'm going to do is add 18 here and add 18 to here to get rid of that number. That way I'm looking at the numbers on one side and the variables on the other side. So, did I do anything with the 5x yet? Nope, so I bring it down. Negative 18 plus 18 is going to give me 0, so I don't have to bring that down. Equals, I didn't do anything with the 4x yet, so I bring that down. And then 7 plus 18, 7 plus 18 is going to give me 25. And that's a positive number. So then what do? Remember that I'm trying to get the x on one side, and I'm going to get it by itself. So the easiest thing to do is take 4 x's from this side and take 4 x's from this side. When I do that, I get 5x minus 4x is equal to 1x. Positive 4x minus 4x is going to be 0 x's, and then a positive 25. So what I've got as a value for x is 25.